This is a notice as posted for the continued recess of the special council meeting from November 14th. This process is subject to the same guidelines as if this is a continuation of the meeting. So therefore, I want to make certain that people understand there is no additional public testimony. Before we went into recess, which is covered in our rules, we do allow a period where the council members can speak before we take a vote. I would also like to say I have a couple special exceptions to today, and those exceptions will include the fact that by our rules, the chief executive of the county of Kauai, who is the mayor of Kauai, is allowed under section 7.05 by his policies, powers, and duties as mayor and chief executive officer of the corporation called the County of Kauai, may present a message or information to the council in which his opinions are necessary or it's in the effort of expedience to the outcome. So in fact, after I call the meeting to order and taking a vote, I will be asking the mayor to speak. And before I let the mayor speak, I would give the floor to our newest council member, who in fact is joining us today. I know all of you have noted that I would appreciate no outburst in the crowd. You are certainly welcome to raise your hands and so forth, but we're here in a formal business mode. And on that note, as I've noticed the meeting, I would like to call the meeting back to order from recess and do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bynum?
Here.
Councilmember Chalk?
Here.
Councilmember Hooser?
Present.
Councilmember Kagawa?
Present.
Councilmember Raposo? Here. Councilmember Yukimura? Here. Council Chair Fafaro?
Present.
7 present.
I have 7 present for today's meeting. This is dealing with the item that was on our previous agenda, dealing with the mayoral veto. And before I call the mayor up, I would like to take a moment of personal privilege to give the floor to Councilmember Chalk. Welcome.
Mahalo. Mahalo nui, everyone, for welcoming me with open arms. And I just wanted to say aloha, back to you. And because it's been already in the last, I don't know, maybe like 12 to 16 hours, really long 16 hours. And I admire you much more now, stepping into this because the learning curve has been really fast. And I just wanted to say that, I've been, as most of you know, I've been in leadership development, as a facilitator for many, many years. And I always, said that I'd practice it, and I did. But this is probably a unique experience in terms of practice, because it's more intense. And so, there's decisions to be made, and we have to act on things that are important to you. And so I wanted to assure you, and I think I said it yesterday, that what you can expect from me is that I'm very clear about what my values are, what my beliefs are, and you will see that consistency come forth time and time again. Other than that, I am on a learning curve, and so I'll make a lot of mistakes along the way as well. So call on Mike for that. And I look forward to it, and privileged to serve with you folks. Mahalo.
And from all of us, welcome. My advice to you is certainly one that when you come to this table, we measure a man's spirit by his aloha for sense of place, the intelligence he has here, and the love that he has in his heart for a place. I know you bring that, but you are an independent council member, and I want to make sure you understand I'm available to help you in any way I can, but obviously we would like to welcome you to the table. Okay? Now, on the next note, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the request of being here. I would like to suspend the rules for you according to Section 7.05 and give you the floor. Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning and aloha, council members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to all of our. Good morning and aloha, council members, and thank you for the opportunity. And to all of our friends in the audience, thank you for being here. To all of our members, everyone listening here at our county building, and of course in the comforts of their homes, I open with a warm aloha. Mahalo for allowing me the opportunity to address you one more time before you take what appears to be the final action on Bill 2491. First of all, I would like to commend you on your choice of our 7th council member. I know you had many excellent candidates from which you have to choose. I've known Mason Chalk a long time, proud of Mason, for many years, and I think he'll be an exceptional public servant. We look forward to working with you, and Mason, congratulations for joining this team. The world of government. Although I have made my position on the bill clear to you during the October 8th and October 15th special council meetings, and although I've explained why I decided to veto the bill in my October 31st communication to you, you now have a new member who was not present for those discussions, and he was not a sitting council member when my October 31st veto message was transmitted to you. While new council member Mason Chalk may have listened to my testimony and read my message previous to yesterday, he did so as a private citizen and not as the council member who now must look at this matter from a different perspective. Over the past several weeks, I've spent much time reflecting on my oath of office, which all of us have taken. It reads, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Hawaii, and the Charter of the County of Kauai, and that I may faithfully discharge my duties as mayor or council member of the County of Kauai to the best of my ability. The oath of office is just that simple. That's all it says. Therefore, when it came time for me, it's about me making my decision, to decide whether or not I would sign Bill 2491, I had to be sure that in doing so, I was not violating this oath. In the end, it didn't matter if I agreed with the intent of the bill, which I do. It didn't matter if I wanted the disclosure and buffer zones to happen yesterday, which I do. What mattered was that I followed the laws that was sworn to uphold. It remains my strong belief that a veto was the appropriate course given the legal flaws in the bill. The bottom line is this: I cannot, in good conscience, support 2491 as written, because I do not believe the county has the legal authority to do what is proposed in Bill 2491. That has been my message from day one. I've been consistent on this message. And in my heart, I believe that we could have accomplished these goals faster in a legally sound manner by working cooperatively with the state, which is clear legal authority over buffer zones and pesticide disclosure. A deferral would have given us time to make something happen through existing state laws, and I still believe that that could have been accomplished in a timely manner. When I asked for more time on October 8th, I informed you that we will work with the governor and the Department of Agriculture to roll out the details of a voluntary disclosure and buffer zone program within 2 months. Then, on October 15th, I asked for just 30 days to make that happen. And guess what? Precisely 30 days later, the Department of Agriculture released the details of that program. So there's nothing curious or suspicious about their announcement on Wednesday. It's what they told us would happen. And I, for one, did not doubt their word. So where do we go from here? Really, where do we go from here? You have a decision to make. Will you sustain the veto, or will you override the veto? If you choose to sustain the veto, we will continue to work with the Department of Agriculture to ensure that the voluntary program gets underway as planned as of December 1st. So there will be pre-disclosure of restricted use pesticide use to schools, hospitals, and medical clinics, and there will be monthly post-disclosure of restricted use pesticide use available on the Department of Agriculture's website. There will be buffer zones of 100 feet for all schools, medical facilities, and residents. These things will be in place in 2 weeks. Yes, the voluntary disclosure and buffer zones may not be as strong as what's contained in 2491. However, these could be amended once the study is complete and shows valid evidence for additional protections. I'm already working to continue discussions with the state on other issues relative to pesticide law and to strengthen the voluntary program to include memorandums of agreement that will hold all parties accountable. Please be assured, from my perspective, that the voluntary program is just the start of the conversation. We'll stand with the County Council to support the resolution presented by Chair Fafaro, which asks the state to provide more funding for the pesticide program so that proper enforcement can occur. Also, I'll be forwarding a money bill to you that will allow us to get the environmental, public health, and impact study underway as soon as possible. Should you decide instead to override the veto, I will continue my consultation with various departments on how best to implement this bill. However, we all know there's a high likelihood that the new law will be challenged in court. There will be a cost to the county to defend that lawsuit, and we may be prevented from implementing the bill while it is in litigation. I want to be very clear that if that happens, we will take action. Even in the face of a lawsuit, it is my hope that we'll move forward quickly to put the public health study in motion. The voluntary program will proceed, and will lobby the legislature for additional funding and resources. Our message has been consistent. We have an obligation and responsibility to protect the health and safety of our community. However, we must carry out that responsibility in a correct and legal way. I said it before and I'll say it again. I do not believe 2491 is the correct and legal path. So let me conclude with this. We're not placed in these positions to be heroes or to pave the way for other communities. We're here to take care of Kauai and Ni'ihau and the people who live here. Efforts of this magnitude take time, patience, and above all else, collaboration. And they take strong leadership. Many of us around the table have been associated with the exceptional organization, Leadership Kauai. Leadership Kauai focuses on 5 leadership practices. Of the 5, the one that I feel is most important is to encourage the heart. This, to me, is all about aloha, how we conduct ourselves, whether we agree or disagree, is our true lasting legacy. Being an effective leader takes empathy and compassion. We cannot afford to take sides. Confrontation gets us nowhere. Instead, we must always look for the common ground of aloha. And I believe there's nowhere in the world better suited to light the way in the spirit of aloha than right here on Kauai, doing it the Kauai way. Mahalo for your time, and God bless.
Mayor, thank you very much for your summary on this information. It's much appreciated. To the members, I want to say I am going to make an exception to the rule since you used your 10 minutes earlier. I will allow you 3 minutes each to address any comments you have for the mayor on his testimony. You have the floor.
Good morning, Mayor. Thank you very much for appearing. I wanted to ask you, if the bill is overridden, will you defend the law in court and assert the county's interest to protect health and safety?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So, and if we're found in court to be legal, 2491 is found to be legal, will you enforce the law?
I've said from the beginning, I'll continue to do, no matter what happens, we're going to pave the way and move forward.
Okay, so when you answer these questions, you are acknowledging that we don't know really what the law is until the court speaks.
I know what the law is before me and what I've been told by my county attorneys, which is I'm abided, working closely with them, and what is my role as mayor, to abide by what laws are given to me and decisions I have to make, and I stand strongly on that. My county attorneys tell me that this is what it is, this is illegal, this is not illegal, and I take that very seriously. I do not fend them away, I keep them at the table and abide by what I'm told.
But you know that it is not the county attorneys who actually, in the end, determine what the law is.
But is it the county attorney that I work with closely every day
you can choose
that advise? But
you can certainly choose to follow the county
and that is the right
attorney's
way,
advice.
I believe, yes.
Okay, but I think when you say follow the law, I want to just say that I don't think we really know what the law is until we go to court.
Okay.
So in this post-application reporting of RUPs, it doesn't really tell you where, we won't be told where the pesticides are being sprayed, because it's total number of acres covered, but there's no, in our bill, it's about fields.
That's why I said that we need to strengthen, we have something before us that we can work closely on, that is decided by all parties, and looking at strengthening it, whatever is before us.
But why didn't the administration assert this before the Department of Ag and insist that that be included in the process?
We've been at the table working closely. That's why I've asked for more time to work through the details as we get closer to looking at what we need to amend. It is a volunteer program with the hope that we can get closer to some kind of understanding in writing, because I want to keep this moving. If it gets placed in court or in litigation, there's a possibility that everything could stop. And in my mind, I want things to continue to move, because this is an important part of our community. So all I'm saying is that there's a great possibility, from what I'm understanding, that if there's some kind of legal or lawsuit that comes forth from this, that it could hold off everything.
Well, there's already a 9-month delay in the implementation of the bill, and the declaratory judgment process is quite quick in court.
I
so
disagree.
you could probably get it established one way or the other, whether we have the jurisdiction to do these laws. Don't you think it's important that we
experience as
establish
mayor
that?
has been, when you get into any kind of legal issues, which you should know about, it takes time. It takes a lot of dialogue. And even with the 9-month period, I've said from before, consistent, I don't think the 9 months is enough. So all I want to do is make sure that we have the ample time. We can sort through all the challenges on the floor, but leave that be, and we'll continue to move forward with this voluntary program if and when this program is placed into whatever.
Last question, Mayor. If the voluntary program doesn't work for some reason, we will need to do a law, because that's when you need laws, when voluntary actions don't work. So wouldn't it be good to establish whether we actually have the jurisdiction to do a law?
I believe that through a voluntary program, holding everybody accountable and working closely and avoiding any type of litigation is the route to go. And I believe strongly that the people at the table that we're holding accountable and assuring that everybody's roles are detailed and to the point, that we can move to better service our people.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Kagawa, I'll now give you your 3 minutes, and I just want to remind everybody, we're operating under Section 7.05 of the Charter, which allows the mayor to come before us. It makes time for him to make presentations. It does not necessarily allow us the Q&A, but I am making a 3-minute exception. You have the floor.
Thank you for that exception. Mayor, I was very pleased on Wednesday when we had the announcement. It said that they would add 10 pesticide inspectors / educators for the whole state. You know, do you think we can clarify that with the state and find out how much are going to be attributed to Kauai? I think that's what, you know, the people here want to know, how much inspectors are going to be added to Kauai. So if they can maybe amend that announcement, and I think they have an idea as far as, you know, because we have one right now, right, that inspects Kauai. I think that's Ms. Cam. And so if you can check on that, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, with more dialogue and discussion, we can see, you know, because it's an overall piece that we can get to a place where we can get the coverage that we need.
Okay. Second question. You know the voluntary disclosure they came out with, they're saying that it's for to notify schools, hospitals. Do you think we can also ask them to expand that for residents?
It is my hope, and I would open that. Of course, we look at all areas, but for now we have to go with what is in writing. And in my statement, I said that we need to look at areas that are not part of this discussion and encourage that to be part of this. Yes.
Okay. So I guess that's, you know, like, yeah, I mean, I heard your message, but I just think that if we had expanded that disclosure notice or the announcement, that, you know, we could maybe make some of our, you know, residents feel even better that the state really can do the job, that, you know, I believe they can step it up. I think you believe they can step it up. Mr. Raposo believes they can step it up, but I think, you know, it would be nice if we have more members that feel that same way.
I can just speak on my own experience and relationship and ability to pull people together and hold them to the table in good, healthy discussion. And there's a way to work things out collaboratively, like I stated earlier.
The last question is, do you think the Department of Health can make some similar commitments to the people of Kauai? For example, adding some health inspectors, not only human health, but environment health inspectors on Kauai as well. I understand that Mr. Yama's position has not been filled yet. They're having trouble. It's been over a year. So, you know, when people have concerns about DOS and what have you, they have to talk to people from Oahu who are not familiar with the island. But, you know, I understand that it's not that they haven't been actively pursuing that position. But so I guess if you could answer, you know, whether we can work with Mr. Gill and try and get, you know, some commitments similar to that announcement that came out about the ag inspectors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kagawa. Mr. Raposo, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being here today. Not long ago, you asked this body for a month to work with the state, work with the communities. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And it was this body that said no.
Yes.
So I think it's unfair to ask you, how come you didn't do this, how come you didn't do that, how come the administration didn't do this, but you asked for some time and we didn't give you that time. So I just want to make that clear for the record, for the public to understand that you tried. And I know a lot of people are blowing their mind because they say you and I could never agree. But I agree. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Would you agree that that Good Neighbor program that came out needs to, I heard you say that you're working to make it stronger, but wouldn't you agree that it is pretty weak?
Yeah. I mean, there's parts of it that needs discussion.
Right.
And there's parts of it that... Yeah.
But I commend you for at least getting that. And that's the starting point. That in fact, the buffer zones around schools and hospitals and residences should be increased. I mean, I agree with you. And I think we all collectively have to work together and not in court. I guess what I'm asking you is your commitment, and I think I heard that, but I hear that your commitment, and I guess I just need to hear from you if I'm hearing you right or not. There is a commitment from you and your administration to hopefully work with some of us, and in fact, I'm working right now to try to get a meeting scheduled with the Governor, Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Health on the 27th of this month to work towards strengthening that agreement.
Yes.
That should this bill get hung up in court, which I anticipate should this pass today, that we will have a tool in our toolbox that can start the process to fixing what's broken on this island. Do I hear that as a commitment from you?
That is my commitment. That is my hope. That's what needs to happen, because God forbid if it does get caught up in courts, we need to continue this for the betterment of all. And I feel confident in working with all the players, holding each player at the table accountable for their roles and responsibilities, of which we have a role, and going from there. Because we cannot have this being held up and just wait. And that could happen. I'm just saying it could happen, like how you're telling me, you know. So that's all I'm saying.
And that's what I think, Mr. Mayor. I think, you know, the criticism about this voluntary compliance program, should the bill pass, there's a 9-month waiting period, barring any legal challenge.
Right.
So for 9 months, barring any legal challenge, this county has nothing if not for what you have done with the state. And
Right.
that is what I think that the public needs to know, that there is a commitment from this county. There is a commitment to start somewhere. And I just don't think you're getting the credit that you deserve for that, because it's not easy to get the state to do something like that. And Ross and I are witnesses to that. We've been up there, and it's hard to get their ears. But what we have today is a starting point, more than we had 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And more than we'll have in 9 months with 2491. So I just want to say thank you. I'll use my time just to say thank you for putting this on your priority list and getting us something where we can start to work. And I stand committed to work with you to strengthen that voluntary agreement, or that voluntary program, so that the concerns of these communities are met. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Raposo. Mr. Bynum, you have the floor, followed by Mr. Hoosier.
Morning, Mayor.
Morning.
Thank you very much for being here. Nobody can question your courage, your political courage. You have been here throughout this and engaged in a way that's unprecedented for county politics, and I appreciate it. I hope you heard my public statement last time we met, and you know, I don't want to be redundant, but would you agree that there's been a flurry of activity from the state since we introduced 2491?
Well, I can speak upon my relationship with the state since I've gotten information given to me, and the request to work closely in addressing this issue.
This all happened after 2491 was introduced here. None of this happened until this bill was introduced, correct? Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. And I've said many times the public record gives me lots of assurances, because the public record will show who's been engaged on this issue for the last 5 or 6 years in the state and who hasn't. Okay? This is a complicated and sophisticated issue. And I agree with that. I applaud this flurry of activity, like when Dee Morikawa was here. But we know the history of this. Mina Morita and Dee Morikawa tried for years to get the state to do buffer zones, to do notification. It went nowhere. Until last year, there was a little bit of crack in the ice because the House leadership was overturned. We know that. Those that know this issue know that. We've been fighting back, don't you agree? We've been fighting back attacks on home rule led by the seed industry for the last 5 or 6 years. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. You've testified against their efforts to take away our home rule. We've been under attack. You know that, right?
Right.
And they haven't succeeded. And so we all have a responsibility to meet our constituents' needs. I don't doubt your sincerity for 1 minute, not for 1 second. But I really am concerned that the depth of knowledge is not there for some decision makers, because they haven't been personally engaged in this level on this issue for a long time. And I think that'll become clear. We just disagree, Mayor, about this legal issue.
Which I feel is very important. I've said from day one, I support the intent of the bill.
So
There are
last thing,
flaws in the bill that I disagree with.
I understand.
I've asked for deferrals to give me the time to work and make it stronger, so for me, we can quell some of those legal issues that have been placed before me.
And I
When
think
the bill, I want the people to understand there's a process in place. I can only act upon what is given to me in writing. And once the bill, prior to that, I've been in discussions, I've been asking all the time, but what comes before me, I respond to. I came before you, I shared you some of my concerns about the bill itself. I even gave you folks some solutions. And so I keep saying the same thing, that I support the intent. However, there's some challenges in the bill. As you know, and I'm not going to go into all of it again because we've gone through that, and that is why I'm sitting here, and that has been my message from day one. We can say all of these things about what happened before. I'm going on what I have before me, and in the current document, that's my
Mayor,
stand.
we have parallel processes happening. Finally, after years of inaction, a flurry of activities happening at the state. And of course, you and Dee and our representatives are going to continue that on a parallel track. But Mayor, you believed just a couple of days ago that the governor would give voluntary, that these things that he just announced would be to the same extent as 2491. You believed that. And now it's been released, and it's wholly inadequate. And anybody who understands this depth of knowledge about this issue knows
3
that
minutes.
that voluntary compliance is almost meaningless. It's a good start, but it doesn't, all of this happened in the last couple of months when the people of this island have been begging for years. And so we have to keep our parallel track. And I appreciate your commitment. If this bill is, if your veto is overturned, to defend it legally, as is your Juliana, you've said that, okay? And to move to implement it with aggressively and assertively, which I know
I've
you
said
have
what I
the
said.
ability to do.
The flurry of activity to me, what I disagree on is that flurry is pulling people apart. For me, just for me, okay? And so it is my hope that in our delivery, that when we get to that place, we can pull things together, like I said over and over again, because there's misinformation. And with this particular commitment, I'm saying if it gets caught up in the legal side of it, it could hold this whole discussion. Can we agree that that could happen?
No.
Okay,
Because
so
you
don't
can
agree.
continue all your efforts with the state.
I'm saying that.
You can continue all of that.
I've said that from the beginning.
Excuse me.
And it's coming to, to life here before us. I've asked for time
Mayor,
to make it happen.
we'll get
I've
through
been asking questions. I've been out and about.
Yes,
Yes.
and we'll get through this together. We will. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you for those responses. Mr. Hoosier, you have the floor.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Morning.
So you were talking about legal issues, and I know that's one of your main concerns. So clearly, you were aware and are aware that the chemical companies' attorneys have said on public record that if we pass the bill, that they would take us to court, they would sue us.
If they take us to court. As I'm saying, there's legal issues that are going to be
No, but
fixed.
you're aware that the chemical companies have threatened to take us to court if we pass the bill.
Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
And you know that we passed it 6-1. That's correct.
Correct.
You know that we passed it twice, actually. Many of us have voted in support twice, including your managing director, voted in support twice. So you're aware of that. So you must be aware that there's a very high likelihood that the possibility of an override is very likely or possible.
Possible.
Okay? So you're aware of the background. So given those circumstances, my question is, did anyone in the county attorney's office consult with you or advise you that it was in the community's, the county's best interest, and that it was okay to release the county attorney's opinion?
The decision to release my county attorney's opinion was my call.
I'm sorry.
My responsibility.
Excuse me,
That's
question from the county attorney? You can address the chairman. I'm holding your time. I'm going to give the floor to the county attorney.
Good. I have a wonderful county attorney staff that does wonderful work. Come.
Can he use the mic from the back table here? Here, Monica, right here. No, right there. Oh, okay. No, he wants time to consult with the mayor. That's the privilege I'm giving him. We're in recess. Please do not leave the chambers. We're in a recess. I meant you as well. We're back. Mr. Hoosier, you still have the floor. I allowed the mayor to have consultation. Go right ahead, Mr. Hoosier.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate your answer that it's your decision, but that wasn't the question I asked. The question I asked was, did the county attorney consult with you and advise you that this was in the best interest of the county to release the opinion?
The county attorney, I put in a request to my county attorney through communication like you did. After my review of what was done, I asked for the communication. Give me your legal opinion to help me to make the decision I had to make sure that this bill is sound. I looked at the opinion, absorbed all the information. I looked at what I felt as mayor, as the CEO, and I made the decision based upon what I read.
Right. And with all due respect, sir, that's not the question I'm asking you.
That's the answer
I'm asking you.
That's the truth.
Okay. I will accept that you're not going to answer my question as to whether or not the county attorney advised you.
I feel I'm answering your question.
Okay. Do you believe that releasing the opinion was in the best interest of the county, given the circumstances of the threat of the lawsuit and the likelihood of an override of this measure?
I believe that my right as the mayor to look at all information before me, and if my decision to be transparent and to share the information based on my veto and the legal opinion, that it was my responsibility. Okay. I felt. Wait, my turn.
No, I have 3 minutes, and you're eating up much of it. You
have your own time to say.
Was this in the best interest of the county? Is my basic question.
All my decisions are made on the best interest of the county and the people of Kauai.
My second question, if I could, and I appreciate
one more question.
One more question. Good.
The passage of this measure, the override of the veto. It's my understanding from reading all of the Department of Agriculture's material on this volunteer program that we have. It's my understanding that passing this bill does not preclude or stop the state of Hawaii from moving forward with this voluntary program and to make it as strong as they want to make over the next 9 months or the next year or the next year after that. There's nothing. This is not. If we pass this, we're not going to do the volunteer, is it? Isn't the volunteer effort going to move forward regardless of this action?
I just said, Councilmember Hoosier, from my opening remarks, and I've been consistent all the way through. I said, give me the time. I have the ability to work. Let me answer your question.
No, the question is, does
What is your
passing this
question?
bill preclude the state from moving forward with their voluntary program?
No, the program will continue no matter what.
Okay, thank you.
I
Thank you,
said
Chair.
that, yes. And I'm at the table with them talking and trying to get all the information sorted for the people.
Members in the audience, sometimes I'm referred to as almost being too strict, but please, as we go through this process, demonstrate these conversations need our immediate attention. It's a style of kuka to talk through things, so please. Mr. Councilmember Chalk, you have the floor.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you for bringing up Encourage the Heart, because I think that that's what our council chair is talking about, and it's something, like you said, exemplified within the 5 practices, and something that I also really care about and admire in you because of the love that you have and how you share that and how you bring it forth. Alongside with the 5 practices modeled away, which is really about getting clear about your beliefs, clear about your values, and so that's a lot of work as well on top of that. And in making this decision here, and it's not a question, it's just really a reflection of what I'm hearing and what I've been listening to, is that we have these 2 tracks that look great for us. I mean, both of them have challenges in them, and we have the opportunity to continue down both roads. While at some point down the road, it may be that we come into some discrepancy, some lawsuit, or that may slow down the process. And I'm typically, or usually, an advocate of less is more, especially in my life. However, let's call this overcompensation for what could be, and err on the side of safety here to continue to do more than what we are, more than less. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Mayor, thank you very much for requesting your right to exercise under Section 7.05 to come and talk to us. I want to let you know that I really appreciate the fact that you are having this dialogue with the state. I haven't gone far with mine, but I want to make sure that the public knows that when you did get in to see the governor, I appreciate the fact that you consulted with me, that you were there and asked my concerns.
Right.
My concerns still stand based on the following. This is something that could be implemented in the next 2 weeks by the state. And yes, I wrote them, as you know, I copied you of my correspondence, to introduce a money bill in this session for $555,000 worth of inspectors. Now, the press release says they're going to add 10 inspectors in the state. Mr. Kagawa's question is a good one. How many are dedicated to Kauai? I think for me, that's something we would like to understand. And I have to tell you, I think your approach is one of lokahi and harmony to get it reserved so that we have an understanding for our community. But the problem I'm having at this point is the fact that what is said in their press release is on a volunteer basis. What we have in our bill is things that are going to be law in 9 months. So, you know, I see us working through on their voluntary and see what they can implement while we get ready to implement this ordinance. But ho'omanawanui to all of us.
Ho'omanawanui. Aloha.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Council members.
Thank you.
Aloha.
There, a little housekeeping item I just want to share with everybody. I don't want there to be a misconception that you couldn't go to the lua, okay? It was when we went on the recess, there was this huge movement downstairs. It is not true that you cannot use the bathrooms here, okay? Please. Okay, our meeting is called back to order, and I would like a moment just to share something, especially for members of the press that came late and you didn't alert us to your need to be here. I want to remind you that that assignment of reserving seats for the press is reserved to the chair's decision with you presenting your credentials. I think there were 2 members that were waiting outside that we were not prepared for. You are in now, but please, we need your kokua in the future if you're visiting the chamber on the county of Kauai, okay? Second thing, I think something I also want to test everyone on is their knowledge about the texting issue, which there's been a lot of coverage on about interaction between members here. Currently, there is still a posed challenge in the Sunshine Law to texting, but there is no final guideline from OIP that it can or cannot be done. I have, over my 4.5 years as chairman, advised the council members that this is an item that's being discussed in many communities, Florida, Wisconsin, California. But to me, and looking with the research after I seen this particular piece come out, I do not know that the Office of Information Practices in the state of Hawaii has imposed any final guidelines. So that means that every council member is subject to their own decisions at this point. Okay? And that, as I understand it, but I think it was also fair to get this information back to you folks. Nobody made a bad decision because they had too much of good information. So, okay? Now, members, I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and I am going to allow some dialogue before I ask for a vote on the motion that was left on the table. Is there any member that wishes to speak? If not, all they have to do is raise their hand. I can't guess. I'm going to give each member 5 minutes. Okay, you were already allocated your 10 minutes previously, so I'll allow 5 minutes at the discretion of the chair. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I debating whether or not I should even speak today because I think I've said enough at the last meeting, but I do want to go on the record and you know, get this off my chest because I think it's important. We've seen a lot of emails, text messages. We've seen newspaper. I mean, Forbes did an article about it, and I think it's troubling. And I do want to get it out here because, and I mean no disrespect to Mr. Chalk, who I welcome to this body, but you know, the reality of this is we should not be here today. The reality is this matter should have been resolved at the last meeting. The fact of the matter is that this body had agreed that we would not put this burden on a 7th member. Individual council members, except for Mr. Hoosier and Mr. Bynum, who clearly stated that they wanted to wait. The rest of us said no, that it was not appropriate, that it was not fair. In fact, I think Councilmember Yukimura said that, I'm sorry? No, I mean, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is, because I don't think that the feelings would be the same if the positions of the bill were different. I really don't. I don't think it would have been the same. But Joanne said there are many important issues facing the community, and we're looking at for is a much broader set of values and character and knowledge than one issue, she said, announcing her opposition to letting a new council member vote on the issue. She was horrified that the process of choosing Nakamura's successor had to be done in the context of Bill 2491. And even Mr. Bynum said that if there's not 5 votes to override, that's it. We'll just get another bill, and we'll do it again after the new member gets appointed. And even our chair, who said that he was opposed to delaying the override vote until a new member was selected and that it would desecrate the democratic process, akin to a legal adversary stacking a jury with new members who had never heard the evidence. So the reality is, whether you agree or disagree, is this matter came before this body, and this body made a decision that we would not put the newly appointed person in that position. And as you saw unfold right here in these chambers, as it was evident that the vote was not in line for the override, all of a sudden that changed. All of a sudden, the need for the importance to have this isolated from the new 7th member appointment did not matter anymore, which I think is wrong. You know, we keep talking about the Hawaiian values, the canoe. You know, one of the things that I really pride in this body is the integrity, the fact that we all can work well together. But with that comes a sense of integrity. With that comes a sense of agreement. When you agree on certain things that you expect the others to uphold. You know, years ago I was the commissioner at Pop Warner Football, and it was at a championship game out in Hanapepe Stadium, and Maui was playing Kapaa. And the game had gone on. It was winding down in the 4th quarter, and the coach or the president from Maui came up and said, "Hey, Commissioner, you need to call this game. You need to," because it was evident that they had lost the game or they were going to lose the game. Up until that point, everything was fine. But when they realized that they were going to lose this game, they come up, "Commissioner, you need to stop this game." I said, "What's going on?" One of the players from one of the teams, they don't have their Pop Warner patch on their jersey, which is a requirement. And I said, "Well, I'm not going to," this issue has come up many times throughout the country in Pop Warner, and it's a precedent that we set that we're not going to penalize the child, the player, because of a patch. It's not a safety issue. It's not a health issue. And the game continued, and they lost the game. But my point is, up until that point, that they knew they were going to lose the game, the fact that the player didn't have a patch didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was okay until they knew they were going to lose the game. And that's not right. That's not all paddling the same canoe. And I am worried that this is going to set a precedent. That's why we have rules. I'm worried that this is going to set a precedent. Now, every time we're in a vote, then it's not going our way. It will just call a recess. It will just call a recess and say, you know what, I just need more time. You know, recess meant for bathroom breaks, meant for quelling the situation on the table if it's getting out of hand. That's what recesses are for. And in this case, we recessed this body with a 6-member council. And let me just wrap up, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it. And we reconvened with a 7-member council, an entirely new body. The bill will stand on itself. I'm not here to talk about the bill. I think I've said enough about the bill. But I think the process, the integrity of this process, I believe, has been compromised in this. And just imagine, all of you out here that are shaking your head, nodding your head, imagine if the vote was the other way. Imagine if it was a different result, and it was this side of the table that had did that. This place would have erupted in chaos. You know that. I know that. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Hoosier, then Yukimura. Mr. Kagawa, did you have your hand up earlier or just now? You're fine? Fine. Then Mr. Kagawa. Mr. Hoosier, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We have lots of agreement, we have lots of disagreement on this body and in politics, and I like to think that good people, people of high integrity, people of good intent, smart people can look at the same issues and come to different conclusions. And that's evident by the arguments here at the table. I'm clear. I spent much of the night reading the charter, reading our rules, looking at what occurred, and I'm 100% clear that our action reflects the will of the charter to have 7 members here. If there's any manipulation of the process, I would argue that it's through the appointment of one of our 7 members in the middle of a decision that has enwrapped our community over months and months and months, and then we lose one of those to the mayor's office creating empathy, which threw this whole thing into disruption. That's where the disruption occurred. And I'm very pleased that we have a member joining us today who I don't know him well, has spent a lot of time looking at this issue. Like many people in our community, this has not been something you can avoid. This is something that's in the paper every day, it's on the media every day, and I think that as a rule, a body, we will make much better decisions today and every day when we have a canoe that is full. We have 7 members here. And for what it's worth, this was not a litmus test, we all know that. That the other second member who was could have been appointed also had a position on this bill. So for that, I'd like to close that subject because I think I'm somewhat offended, but I respect the differences of opinion here at the table. Just briefly on the legal issues, again, this is just disclosure, buffer zones, and a study. And to have it fought so hard by these attorneys threatening to sue us, by the governor stepping in, by this constant onslaught to stop us from this basic information is just mind-boggling. You know, the mayor agrees with the premise of the bill. He said that over and over again. The only argument is the law. Okay. The law in the bill is clear, and I'm going to take a second. The state constitution says we shall conserve and protect. It doesn't say you might. It doesn't matter what 240, 149A or any other thing says. The Constitution says the state and all its subdivisions, us, shall conserve and protect Hawaii's natural beauty and all its resources. Number 2, HRS says each county shall have the power to enact ordinance deemed necessary to protect health, life, and property. It also says in state law, any provision of law not to the contrary, withstanding, which means it doesn't matter what other laws say, the council of any county may adopt and provide for the enforcement of ordinances regulating or prohibiting noise, smoke, dust, vibration, or odors, which constitute a public notice. We have nine preeminent attorneys who have said in writing that this bill is solid. We have a former Supreme Court justice. We have George Kimbrell from the Center for Food Safety. We have just a long list of people who have looked at this, and they don't sign letters lightly. We have 2 University of Hawaii law professors sign this. We have 4 letters in writing from 4 very credible attorneys offering to defend the bill for free, pro bono. 2 offered to defend the county for free. 2 offered to defend community groups for free, defending the bill. One of these fellow, Peter Shea, has done over 100 major cases throughout the nation. He's done cases in the United States. He's been before the United States Supreme Court. The others, Ms. Kiko is a former president of the Kauai Bar Association. Others have been before the Hawaii Supreme Court. We have a credible legal defense team prepared to do this for free. We have many lawyers who said there is nothing wrong with this bill. It is solid. We have 9 months to implement it. And the voluntary stuff can go forward. We're not going to stop that. 9 months to implement it. If the mayor has concerns, if anybody has concerns, during that period we can tweak it. We can do minor amendments if necessary to satisfy the concerns. There is no reason whatsoever that this bill should not move forward. We've covered our bases legally. We've stepped up to honor the will of the people of this county. It's a good bill. We've gone through hours of testimony. I want to thank you, Chair, before I run out of time, especially for your support in this process all the way through. It took a man like you to make this happen in as good a fashion as it has happened. It's been challenging, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the people in our community for coming out day after day. Many people have brought their children here today. I appreciate that. This is a role model for young people. It's something that I'm proud of, our council should be proud of, our community should be proud of, and I urge everyone to vote in support of overriding this veto. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoosier. Joanne, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm so glad that Councilmember Raposo raised the issue of the process, because I feel like there's been a lot of concern out in the community since we made the vote to recess. And I know that some of the emails have accused the 4 of us who voted for recess of corruption. Have you noticed that on both sides, when something doesn't go one's way, a person will say, oh, that's because of corruption? You know, when the bill was first introduced and deferred for 1 month, the pro-2491 people thought, must be corruption, some of them anyway. And then when the mayor vetoed the vote, again, some of the 2491, pro-2491 side said, corruption. And then now when the council recesses, hopefully to secure an override by letting the 7th member vote, now the anti-2491 says, corruption. You know, when in fact, I believe in all 3 cases, as Councilmember Hooser alluded to, it was just a matter of good-hearted, intelligent, reasonable people disagreeing and coming to different conclusions. There was nothing illegal or unethical about our action to recess. We recess our meetings all the time. It's a very common parliamentary procedure, and it's not limited to bathroom breaks or consultation. All it requires is 4 votes. When the majority of the council says we need a recess, we can have a recess. Now, I voted to have the motion to, the vote on the mayor's override prior to selection of the 7th member, because I didn't want the selection of the 7th member to turn on just Bill 2491. And I am proud to say that we achieved that yesterday. 2491 was never mentioned in our discussions. And we definitely, I feel every council member did not choose a person because of 2491. In fact, you know, both Councilmember Raposo and Kagawa voted for Kipukai Kuli'i, and his position is for 2491. So that shows the integrity of my colleagues, and I think of the process. You know, sometimes when parliamentary procedure is used, it's often like chess, and at the last meeting it looked like a checkmate for 2491, but there was another move that was totally in accord with our rules, and that brought us to today. So coming to the bill itself, I really appreciated the mayor's visit here, but I really think we need to get a court decision about whether we have the jurisdiction or not. And I think it will be in the favor of the seed companies as well. I mean, this decision could cut both ways. We don't know what it will be. And if they achieve preemption in the courts, that means 2491 is not legal and we will have to try another route, but it tells all of us what we have to do. And if it's legal, then we can move ahead. And so I'm not sure why anybody on either side of the issue is opposing going to court, and the only way we can go to court is through a bill. So I say, let's go to court. There is enough. We've heard testimony of testimony, and not all of it is based on proven evidence of a connection between pesticides and the problems that people are having. But we have the study that will give us better information, and we are only asking for a minimum of disclosure and protective buffers. And so we need to move ahead on this bill.
Thank you. Mr. Bynum, you have the floor.
We've heard the word integrity a lot today, and I want to start by saying I am not questioning the integrity of any individual involved in this debate, not the county attorney, not the mayor, not any of my colleagues. I believe every one of them is sincere in making their judgments with their heart and mind to the best of their ability. We've gone over the rules. Not only, it's our responsibility when we are advocating a position on behalf of the citizens, the oath we swore is to use whatever mechanisms are available to further that goal. We all are uncomfortable when parliamentary maneuvers seem uncomfortable, but they're part of American politics. They're not inappropriate in the county of Kauai, and when we find that they are, we all can put rule changes in to address that. So when the decision was made to move forward with the without selecting a council member. I was opposed to that decision, but I didn't succeed in convincing others. But that doesn't mean that that decision, under our rules, couldn't be reconsidered if circumstances changed, and they did. So it's perfectly appropriate, and I'm not questioning anybody's integrity. We hear a lot about the opinion. The key word there is opinion. The County of Kauai chooses to not take the county's attorney's opinion when, in our judgment, his caution that the public good is more important. Let me give a couple examples that have been discussed recently on the council. The inner tube, you know, the tubes, the safety tubes, our attorneys told us that was illegal, we shouldn't do it. You know, we had to work that out for a long time, and the judgment of the collective judgment in the long run was, no, this public safety issue trumps any liability concerns we might have. Same thing with public access. Our attorneys have told us, if you maintain the public access, then you take on additional liability. And the council has said, okay, we hear that caution, but public access and safety is more important. Enough said about that. It's an opinion, we'll find out. I was the author, along with Lonnie Kawahara, of the plastic bag ban. We were the 7th community in the nation to ban distribution of these little plastic bags. 5 or 6 communities were being sued by the plastic industry at the time. I was told, Lonnie was told, we're going to get sued. I said, you know, we're unique in Hawaii. I don't think these large corporations are going to want to sue the same way they did in San Francisco, because they don't want to see the juxtaposition of sea turtles and plastic bags. And we didn't get sued, okay? I'm not clear we'll get sued here. Do the largest chemical companies in the world want to sue the county because we're asking for 100 feet? Because we're asking for disclosure? Well, they probably will, because they're not as wise as the chemical of the plastic industry, who said this is in our best interest to sue Kauai. Well, they may sue us because what they do here is important to them, and disclosure, when we have it completely, more and more people are going to break down that disconnect I talked about last time, break through the denial, break through the defense mechanisms that we all have, and see that there's something is seriously wrong here. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kagawa, did you want the floor next? You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank all the members for putting in all the time and effort and your hearts out on the line on this issue. There's not much other bodies in government that would be willing to take on this kind of task. My reasons for not supporting the bill are the legal problems with the bill. Not minor problems, major problems, as my friend said. Many of you do not know, myself and Clayton Kubo, we're right next to each other in our annuals every year. Waimea High School annual, classmates. And I want to thank Clayton. I never did, for all of his work with the Waimea community. He organized the people that are standing up against Pioneer and the dust problems and health problems that are occurring. And it is not because he has a bone to pick with them. It is because he cares about his fellow neighbors and his family and the children and the future. So thank you, Clayton. I look out, in here, I have some friends here, many are not here. They're not the type of people that show up. They are not people who make up stories, or BS, as we call it. The other day, Brian Ueno, paramedic, came in and told his story about how his wife is experiencing things all of a sudden. I believe him. We need to get answers for him as to what's happening, whether drift is getting into his house or not. The state has the expertise and the knowledge to do it. Right now, it seems that they lack the manpower and the will. It is us here who can start this process of improving that. Brian it's so tough for me. It scares me that I cannot tell him I support you and your idea as to how to get those answers. Brian just tried to save my father-in-law from a massive heart attack, in March. And, they tried hard. They're amazing people. And, it's not only my father-in-law who they see. They're just seeing a lot of health things, and we need to get those answers. And we will. This is not an issue that is going to be voted on today, and we're going to stop the work. I think we're going to work harder after this. So for those of you who may not feel like I do not care about the people, then you do not know that, I born and raised here. I surfed and fished, dived all of the waters on the west side, the rivers, Hanapepe, Waimea River. I grew up there. I'm a fisherman, love the outdoors. And we got to get some answers as to what's happening. My baseball coach, who gave me all of the inspiration and training to succeed at the University of Hawaii when nobody thought I could, he's getting rashes that he can't explain living up in Waimea Heights. He believes it's from the seed company spraying. But this bill will not give him those answers. We got to work on the state. It's our job to get more workers here. You shouldn't have to call Honolulu to complain and get somebody to look into your situation. We should call a Kauai number. Somebody should be out in Waimea within an hour and checking whether something is going on that is not supposed to be happening. For instance, spraying on a windy day, spraying things that you shouldn't be spraying. So we're gonna get those answers. We're gonna keep working, and in the end, I believe we can all come together, and because we all care about the same thing. Health and safety is our priority for now and forever. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
So I'll be real open about what happened last night is that I didn't sleep at all. It didn't happen. And thanks, Mama Kia. I had been fielding a lot of concerns from our community members who expressed, and I have to apologize because there's so much that was going through my mind. I had to write it down, so I'm not seasoned like these guys here. But who expressed their discontent with how the recess on Thursday led to the involvement of the vote of a seventh member, and how it seemed an unfair process. And so this was discerning for me as well. And I too initially questioned the legality of the move, and I was assured by Council Services that the option is a clear parliamentary procedure, of which my my fellow council members chose to act on and vote on. So the question about whether it's underhanded or not is really, first of all, not my kuleana then, because I wasn't here. But I understand the concern, because it's bothered me as well. The difference between rules and how we act on integrity. So I would like for it to be known that I have in no way been coerced into voting for a specific way on the override of Bill 2491 by any other council member related to the appointment of this council seat. What I have been given the opportunity to do by my fellow council members, which is a huge kuleana, has been placed on me now. And I don't take that task lightly. The decision is a difficult one, one that is no short of potential risks in health and or liability. So I guess for me, where I am, and really the calling that I have, Kahea, I got to come here for, was that the idea that every leader gets challenged with some difficult things in their lives, and they're tested on their values, and are challenged to stand firm in their beliefs. in the midst of risking failure or acceptance by others. And so by way of my request to serve and my appointment here, I believe I've been called to act on this difficult decision. And so as some people had requested my recusal, I don't think that is an option within this office, but neither an option for me. And if I've been given the opportunity to make a difference in the health of a child's life, I'm going to take it. Over the last few months, I've remained pretty neutral following the controversial bill and its progress. I reviewed the implications of the bill with our mayor, had legal counsel talk with him, and reviewed many hours of testimony as well. I have spoken to advocates, opposers, community members in between. There are many opinions, but the underlying reason for the bill remains strong in the absence of agreed solutions. So I like to say that also, in addition to that, I have a deep aloha for our mayor. Yeah, I respect his tough decision that he had to make regarding the bill. And while his direction might be different from mine, I don't think we're that far off in terms of our intention. And I know that we'll be working collaboratively towards to see this thing through. Additionally, I've been bothered by the decisiveness displayed in many ways that has fractured our community. And I know that we cannot move forward towards those solutions if we cannot come together as one and we cannot start to trust. And, we can do better. My hope is that my action today will be a catalyst for healing to begin, and that we can take a step towards gaining clarity together. I believe healing will not begin in this issue and will not go away until we unfold the truth and validate the concerns being questioned. Furthermore, I believe that supporting the override of Bill 2491 will put into action events that will help clarify the gray areas that we have not been able to answer. I'd like to add that this road is only starting, like my colleague had said. There are many more challenges to overcome and decisions to be made and it's Yarkuliana. Yeah. As a resident of Kauai, to come together stronger than ever before, to harness the positive energy that you've generated from the gatherings you guys have created around the issue, and work together towards improving the quality of our life and our livelihood for the future of this island. Don't let the passing of this bill be your answer, because it's not. The answer resides in you. It resides in how you choose to love yourself, others, and our environment. So I've been, struggling all night, couldn't sleep, and this morning I called my ohana together.
You got 30 seconds.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
And we gathered for pule, and I felt this overwhelming presence in me that caused me to start to weep. Typically, I kind of macho, I'm like, oh, I don't go there. But I realized, right then and there, my kupuna were with me, and I could feel the anguish, the sorrow, and maybe it was to lay witness to the behaviors that they've seen and how we progressed. And of course, the crying could be just the intense pressure I'm under. Anyways, I'll leave you with this. We will only know how far we can go into the unknown if we are willing to go there, if we're willing to venture there. And, our ancestors knew that, and so does Kauai. So let's take the step. I'm all for overriding the veto on Bill 2491.
Okay. So I believe it's my turn. Okay. First of all, there have been some things that surfaced today, and I want to make sure you folks understand. I've been the council chair for 4.5 years now, since my cousin Brian passed away, and we often talk about the Hawaiian values of kaulike, working together and getting challenges of managing diversity, really focused and so forth. And one of the things I know as the chair, I believe I have a higher duty in managing the rules. And the rules were very well followed and we were consulted on, and I think Councilwoman Yukimura mentioned that. And so as the administrator of the council, first of all, I want to let Mr. Kagawa know that I fully respect your decision to reevaluate your vote. That is your right under our rules. And I'm glad that we have a makeup of members here that can evaluate a situation, look at equal treatment for all the members here at the table, and arrive at a conclusion. And I believe, you know, that's the intent of this council and the mayor, to do the right thing for the right reason, for the right people. That's what it really boils down to. I'm very proud, too, that for all these years I've been unanimously elected chair. But when we have challenges like this, we need to find ourselves effectively dealing with all members in a way that we don't damage relationships. And this message is for everyone here. We cannot go forward together and not realize we don't want to damage relationships in our community. You know, the other day I went down, I went with the police and I removed the tape and the divider that was downstairs. So that is something that, you know, Kauai is known for. I also want to say that in the spirit of the comments fed to us by Mr. Raposo, it would not change my opinion when we reorganized on Tuesday to ask him to be the new vice chair. We need conflicting opinions at times so that we come to a point that we have openly discussed all the challenges. And that is my intent when we organize on Tuesday, to put his name forward. I appreciate what he offers, just like I appreciate every piece that's offered by everyone here on the table. As I said to the mayor in my short comments to him, what I've seen coming out of the governor's office, and I really appreciate when he was there, he called me to be inclusive. And we have a mayor that thinks in terms of trying to get everybody involved so we come to an inclusive decision. Whether we agree with it or not, we had a right to participate. And I appreciate that feedback that he gives to me. But one is a bill that says volunteer under the section of may do this, and our bill says shall. And we keep coming back to these particulars. And that's where I have to say I appreciate everything that's been worked through, but we have 9 months to make it a shall. He is saying he's going to work in the next 2 weeks to make it happen voluntarily. And I think we should take our hats off to him doing that work. I also wanted to make one correction. Joanne was referencing an article about the 3 Caucasians and herself who voted in this recess that was in a little editorial. The 3 individuals from the East Side. First of all, I'm American. Number 2, I'm actually from the North Shore. Okay? And this is a document that members of my family, my children's family, my grandchildren's family, which was a petition to William McKinley to reinstate the Kingdom of Hawaii. Okay? We are Americans. That is the message I need to share with all of us. And this is the American process. And I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of all my colleagues. This has been a tough decision. And we have others. We've got cocoa palms in front of us. We got audit issues in front of us. We have financial in front, and we have the state legislature coming up. But there is no clear majority in this council made up of a bunch of very spirited thinkers. And that was my message to Mason coming on board. We measure our participation from here and here. So on that note, I want to say I'm prepared to continue to support the bill, and I would ask to take a vote. Now, I've been reminded, this is a Saturday, and I have people on overtime. I would like you to take your, ukana and everything outside. We need to secure the building, okay? So please, I'm going to ask you to leave the building maybe within 15 minutes so we can secure it. And on that note, I have a motion. No. I look for a motion.
We did the motion before.
The clerk's office said we need a motion.
So I move to pass Bill 2491, Draft 2.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, a roll call vote, please. Would you read the intent of the vote so everybody understands? It's a vote that reinstates the bill. Could you read that, please?
Chair Fafaro, this is a vote on Bill 2491, Draft 2, which is to approve. If the vote is successful, Mayor Carvalho's veto of the vote has been overridden. Councilmember Bynum?
Aye.
Councilmember Chalk?
Aye.
Councilmember Hooser?
Aye.
Councilmember Kagawa?
No.
Councilmember Opozo? No. Councilmember Yukimura?
Aye.
Council Chair Fafaro?
Aye.
5-2. The
Thank you,
mayor's
everyone, for your
veto has been
patience.
overridden.
This meeting is adjourned.